believe that a city comes alive only when you walk its lanes and its streets and understand the fabric that it's made up of. Street food is a very integral part of getting under the skin of a city, of understanding the ethos of a city. I love eating on the street. I like finding unique street food joints that are very popular and serve local food. I like to speak to the street food vendors, understand their stories and document some of them.
मेरा बड़ा भाई था इधर 6 साल 12 साल हो गया था यहाँ पे। हमको भी 6 साल हुआ है चलाते चलाते। सभी अच्छा बताते हैं, टेस्ट भी अच्छा बोलते हैं।
I enjoy writing about street food joints that serve exceptionally good food and helping other people enjoy them as much as I did. Wherever I go, I seek unique street food experiences. And then I realized that there is really no one online portal or platform that helps me find street food in every locality or every city. So I thought maybe that's an idea and I should try building one. That's how Talking Street was born. I really got into this entrepreneurial space sometime 2 years ago, and in the last 2 years itself, I've seen a huge increase on all fronts. Whether it's people wanting to explore entrepreneurship, I think they have ideas, probably they always had ideas, but today people are wanting to try them out. So everywhere I look, friends, family, people are attempting something of their own. Then there are organizations like NASSCOM. So Talking Street is incubated as part of NASSCOM's 10,000 Startups program. That's a program that just helps the startup come together. It helps with mentoring, it helps with office space, for example. And they help you conduct, with workshops, lots of other stuff that you need to get going. They select you and you're part of it. So there are many other organizations that are doing similar stuff. There are legal firms that are only focusing on startups. There are accounting firms that are helping startups. So everywhere you look, there's support. Even the Karnataka government, for example, is very, very supportive. So it's been a really interesting experience. I think lots happening here. As I think somebody called the Eco Times the startup times, because there's so much news on startups, and I think it just reflects really that that's what's happening. I started out actually as a sales and marketing resource at Levers. And that was my first campus job, and I really learned a lot. It couldn't have been a better starting point. I learned how to build brands, how to put them in front of consumers, put them out in retail, gauge reactions, work on marketing campaigns. And with every subsequent role or job change, I figured that it could be a different product category, it could be a different product altogether, but the basics are going to remain the same. And therefore, there was, in that sense, I felt that I would like to do something that's more complete, maybe different, maybe more holistic. And that got me thinking. I took a fairly long maternity break, and that was a good time to reflect, introspect, and figure out. I then went back to a job at Britannia, but we were already moonlighting on an idea that we had, and I discussed it with potential co-founders. So last year in Feb is when I quit to actually step in full-time and attempt entrepreneurship. Courses in a B school are courses that are helping you set up a business or work in an existing organization. I think in that sense there's no difference. So whether you're learning accounting or you're learning logistics or HR or marketing, you could be working on an existing brand or you could be starting something on your own. In that sense, it really sort of sets the foundation for how a business runs. But I think while I was there, the entrepreneurship wave was still to hit. So if I recount, most of the lectures, guest lectures or workshops were more oriented towards management than towards entrepreneurship. But I already see that changing hugely. I've been, in touch with some of the students. They have a full-fledged entrepreneurship course now, festival called Exemius, which goes live every August. They have a lot of other courses that are on offer, a lot of speakers who are entrepreneurs. So they've obviously, adapted and come up with a lot of value around entrepreneurship. Also the NSR cell, which earlier was more quiet, I think is a lot more active now. You see it, actively organizing seminars, webinars, doing a lot of stuff around entrepreneurship. Actually, I started out on another product and another startup, but that folded up really quickly. We had been moonlighting for 9 months, and then I'd taken off to do something full time. And in 3 months, we figured it wasn't going anywhere. So that came as a bit of a jolt. And it took me a couple of months from there to really figure out what I wanted to do next. What helped hugely was being part of NASSCOM's ecosystem, because then I was housed in their startup warehouse, which is it's a shared working space. There are other entrepreneurs there who are telling you, this is life, don't worry about it. This is what happens to half of the entrepreneurs, and then they change course and they figure out something else. And there are mentors, and there were other options and ideas that I was working on in parallel, exploring stuff. So that helped hugely. Then I figured out this, the idea of TalkingStreet, and I worked on it myself for 3 months till we launched it in October last year. From there, I sort of, it received good response, and I started building the next version, which went out in June, and now we're adding a lot of content and outlets around it. I think entrepreneurship is a curve. It has like maybe life, but it has its highs, and the highs, they become lows quickly. The lows take longer to become highs. So you have phases of, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of really thinking about why you're doing what you're doing. But you've got to learn to live with that. It teaches you a lot about yourself. I think, to me, that's the one thing that I've picked up. There are days, like for example today, there are days when the traffic on the site is really good and it's surging, and you're all excited and happy. Or there have been times when I've had interns and it's a big team and we're working on a lot of things and it's good fun. But there have equally been times when there are suddenly no interns because, for whatever reason, some had to leave, the others didn't join. And that's sad, because at that time you're stretching yourself, trying to do a lot of stuff. There was a phase when the product was a technical mess. So there have been all those, and I keep telling myself that it's a journey. It's not really a destination, and I've got to keep reminding myself of that. Core team makes a huge difference, obviously. But I think the most important part before you select that core team or you decide on who you want part of that is to really figure out if the team has a shared sense of values and has the same level of commitment. Everyone should be on the same level of commitment. That's really important. Because when the times are not good, and that's a lot of times in a startup's life, typically you have these lows which come pretty easy. What's going to hold you together is your sense of values and your commitment. So it's important to get that right when you start. And what also helps is a very deep understanding between all the co-founders and open communication. So I think those are critical to really deciding who you want part of your team, which is why a lot of people, they find their childhood buddies, or they find their college mates, and they get together with them because those are people you understand really well. The next thing would be to look at complementary skill sets. So, if somebody is really good at people and somebody is really good at business, then you bring that together. Or if somebody has a very strong technical background and somebody has a marketing background, you come together that way. So that's an ideal world. Very often that happens, and that's great. But for example, I'm a solo founder, and that's okay as well. It's tougher for sure, but with the right kind of help, guidance, support, that works. So I'm very fortunate to have a very, very qualified tech advisor, and he vets all my technical decisions before they go live. And he's part of the NASSCOM system as well, so we get to interact a fair bit. And I also have a mentor who's an entrepreneur himself, and he's been around doing entrepreneurship for the last 25 years. So he gives very sound, solid advice on everything. So that helps. But I think the most important thing that the team brings to the table is the ability to share the workload because there's just so much to do, and the ability to share the stress when the times are not, as great as you'd like them to be. So that's why one wants a good team. No unicorns got there overnight. Many of them have long stories and long years of working hard. So I think the route to becoming anything bigger is really applying the same principles of business, same amount of hard work, same ups and downs before the evaluation and the fame comes to you. My advice would be really to follow your heart, work on something that excites you, that you're passionate about, and build something which is meaningful and valuable for your users. If what you're building is useful to them, then you'll get where you have to. The money and the fame will follow, but I very strongly believe that that's not necessarily the best way to define success. So my belief is that you won't be a good entrepreneur if you're already thinking of backup plans and how to get out of it. I think that once you're in it, the only thing you should think about is how you want to move forward. So how, you're going to run into bad weather, you're going to run into roadblocks. They are part of the journey. It's important to figure out how you're going to overcome them. But just what I would say is start with ensuring that you've done the homework on figuring out why you're building what you're building and who you're building it for. So if you're building something, go out there before you actually invest time and money and effort in building it. Get feedback on the concept. Ensure that people tell you, that they like the idea, they like the way you're thinking of actually executing. Once you have that surety, then go out and really give it everything. There are going to be things that won't work. There are going to be things that will need changes. Sometimes formats could change. Sometimes communication could change. Sometimes the product needs a tweak. All that is fine, and that's something you'll need to work with. But if you're sure that the concept works for a certain set of users, give it everything you've got. The only advice I would give is on the financials. So at the start of that entire journey, figure out what your runway is. How long can you go, and how much can you stretch that? So, you have to be sure of what you have, how are you going to spend it, and spend very carefully. Figure out spend if you had funding and how you would spend if you don't, and then wisely allocate your resources. Go slow at times, it's okay, but you're ensuring that you have the bandwidth to really try everything before you either succeed or decide to hold. I'd just say 3 things: inner belief, positive thinking, and resilience. I think they don't need explaining, but those are the 3 that I think in my 2 years I figured hold me up. You have to keep your users in mind. You have to be sure that what you're building is conceptually, and execution and how you go about things changes over time because you learn when you go along. You don't know what's going to work at the start, but you know whether you're building something that is useful. So ensure you do the homework on that. And I have a startup that's not done well. My biggest learning was that we didn't really go out and do all the homework that we should have to ensure that we were building something that a majority of the people said they liked. We thought we'll get to that stage once the product is there and we'll share it and we'll get feedback, but that's late. You've already invested a lot of time and money by then. So hold back, do your homework earlier, and then go all behind it. So it's more than 3, but the things that I love about entrepreneurship, clearly the flexibility. My time is totally my own. I'm not answerable to anybody. Well, I am answerable to the people who work with me, but broadly I can structure my day the way I like it. So if I have a small child and if I need to be with him at times, I can always work early morning or late night, and that's totally fine. Creative expression. So I do a lot of photography for the website. I do a lot of writing for it, and it's just amazing that I can express myself and it goes out to users directly. So that's really nice. I meet a lot of very, very interesting people, and I don't know why it wasn't like that when I was working. But now, maybe because I end up meeting a lot of vendors, a lot of owners of places who have been running it for very long, or this team of people who wanted to do a video because they're passionate about entrepreneurs, and that was the only reason they wanted to do it. So a lot of very interesting, inspiring people, and I really thank God for that. I think I love that part about my job now. And also, I think a greater understanding of my insecurities, what my motivations are, what gets me worried, and how do I overcome them. So that's been a very good personal journey. Among the things that I could change, so I won't say what I have to give up. I think as an entrepreneur, you stop thinking about what you're giving up. You're kind of happy where you are. But yeah, the things that I could change would be, one, not thinking constantly about the business and the product. That's something that I'm still learning. It's not easy to let go and to not think of, oh, I could have done that, or this is still left, or this needs to be completed. That's something I wish that I wish away actually. Also, maybe for me, and it's relevant because I'm a solo founder, bearing all the responsibilities on my own, that gets exhausting at times. I wish that was that could change. It's already beginning. I have a team around me now, so that's beginning to change.